Welcome to Destination Safari, a travel show showcasing luxury safari destinations, their lodges, their history, their conservation efforts, wildlife experiences, stunning hospitality, and so much more. Today we are in the heart of the Eastern Cape Albany area, where we are exploring the discreetly nestled Woodbury Lodge in Amakhala Game Reserve. Opened in 1999 by the Gush family, this family-run lodge gives you the ultimate opportunity to create intimate safari memories. It's an absolute privilege to be sitting in a beautiful spot with one of the owners of Woodbury Lodge, Richard Gush. His wife Kathy is also going to be joining us just now, and together they're going to take us through a journey of the history of the beautiful place we find ourselves in today. Richard, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tessa. It's wonderful to have you here. And thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Amakhala and specifically about Woodbury Lodge this evening.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a gorgeous spot, and I think it's something to be celebrated. You know, hearing it from you and from Kathy, I think that's the best way we can celebrate it.
And a perfect afternoon.
Yes.
The weather's really playing along.
It's been very good, and the views, let's be real, they can't look any better than what they do now. So it's an absolute joy to be here. Richard, the first thing I want to find out from you is, this is obviously a very unique spot. This place is gorgeous. Can you tell us a little bit about how we came to be in this spot, a little bit of the history of Woodbury Lodge and how we find it the way it is today?
Yeah, sure. So in 1999 was the year we started talking about forming Amakhala, and I realized straight away I would need to find a nice site for the building of our lodge. So I literally walked or crawled through the bush that we are surrounded by today, and found myself on a rock pretty much behind us, about 30 meters behind us, like a lookout spot. And I sat there that afternoon. I thought, wow, this has got to be the place for our lodge. It had two very key factors. The one was the views, the stunning views that you can see, 180-degree views from high up down onto the plains. And the other thing was shelter, because often when you have a view, you have wind. So this is very much sheltered by the krantz that is behind us. So that was my key determining factors. We did look at the site down on the river, but after discussing it with the family and Kathy, we decided that it was too risky in terms of mosquitoes and cold with the water and stuff like that, and hot in the summer. So this is the site we decided on, and then we started to build it from there. So you can see it's surrounded by a natural Eastern Cape bush, very tough and hardy bush. And when we started to build this, which I did initially with some farm staff and a builder and a thatcher, they were all under strict instructions not to uproot any trees or aloes unless I gave permission.
Oh, that makes me happy.
We really wanted to maintain as much of this bush as possible. Obviously, over the years, as we've expanded, we've taken out a few more trees. But initially, it was a policy to try and blend each lodge, and we located each lodge in a sort of slightly open space with its own view, a little bit of privacy, but trying to maintain the special bush and aloes that are surrounding us.
So Woodbury 100% seems like the ultimate boutique safari destination. Can you tell me a bit about the interiors, the rooms, the makeup of the rooms, families, children? How does it work?
Sure, thanks, Tessa. We've got 7 chalets. They are all independently located, so that there's a little bit of privacy each one, but not too far away, so that people have to walk a long way to get to the central areas. They're all en suite, and they've all got some features like underfloor heating in the bathrooms, air conditioning, all those luxury items that keep you warm in winter and cool in summer. 5 of them are standard rooms, so they'll have for 2 people, 2 adults, and they'll have either a twin or a double bed makeup. And then there's 2 family rooms, and they basically have an extra partitioned area with 2 single beds for kids, and we take kids 12 and older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and with each room, is there a separate viewing area? Is there anything like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm so used to views, I forget to mention it sometimes. Yeah, so they've each got their own little lapa, a thatched roof area with a couple of chairs and a couple of recliner chairs where you can sit out and just admire the view and feel that you're actually entirely on your own in your own little private safari destination. Because the views are facing different ways, you don't see the other people's viewing decks as well. So that's actually a very special feature we've got. Yeah.
So the ultimate luxury of privacy, but completely in the bush and magical.
Yeah, and then to top it, you've got a bath,
Oh.
which has got a big window next to the side of it for the ladies. They can lie in the bath and pop their head over the sill and just look at the view from there. So
That is where I would
without
be.
worrying about anyone looking in, except the odd monkey or baboon maybe. But
Oh, that's actually, I like the fact that you can see the wildlife.
Yeah.
You know, from relaxing in the bathtub in the bathroom with underfloor heating. What
Yeah.
more could you want?
Yeah, and then of course we've got all the other features outside the bedrooms, outside the sleeping shallows. So we've got a number of dining areas. We've got our more formal dining area where everyone congregates in the evenings to sit together, which is nice and warm with the aircon inside. And then we've got 2 slightly more outdoor ones. We've got a completely outdoor one that's just shaded from the sun, which we use for breakfast, so that you can sit outside in the fresh air after your game drive. And then we've got a sort of intermediate one, which has got roll down blinds on the sides, which we can either roll up for the view, or if it's a bit cold, we can roll down, and we do that for lunches normally. So there's a nice variety of choices. And if people do want to sit on their own, they can ask to sit on their own as well. And then, and then the pools, we've got 2 pools. So we've got a smallish pool here, which for the kids and the families, and then a larger one there. And they're both located, as you can see, right next to us here, where you can look out over the view if you stand, or even sitting, lying by the pool. So that's kind of just makes use of all our features. Yeah.
100%. The location is everything.
Yeah. And then next door, the lounge and the bar area, especially for cold nights. After the game drive, if it's a bit wet, you can congregate there around the fire, chat a bit of nonsense and stories around the bar. It's always good. And we do have a TV with the sports, and that's the odd person wants to watch a test rugby, and then there's a big panic if they can't watch us. So we find
Must be South Africa.
Most people are actually quite happy not to have a TV because they want to get away from that sort of thing. But occasionally it's nice, especially if they've got kids or teenagers or something like that.
Gives you a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, the all-important outdoor boma, where the stories are really told. Get back, compare notes with the other game vehicle to see what they've seen, what you've seen. And, have a drink or 2.
I think that's where I would be.
Yeah.
100%. I'd be
Yeah,
sitting
you're
around the fire. So
you can always tell what the weather's doing, because if the people are sitting right around the fire, it's cold. If they're like slowly backing away with their chairs, it's actually quite a warm evening and the heat's radiating. And I actually came down to host dinner one time, and I was sitting there and I thought, what's a strange smell? And I realized my shoes were actually starting to melt from the heat because it was so cold. I was sitting right on the Boma edge.
I think I've done that a couple times, melted the soles of my shoes, but just a little bit.
I only
enough
did it
that
once.
it was a bit uncomfortable.
It was enough for me. Yeah.
Once is enough.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely a beautiful place, and the feel of it is exactly that. The luxury, the comfort, and you kind of feel at home. So I feel like for guests, obviously, a main part of the experience that anyone has when they come to a lodge like this one is not just being inside, but actually what they experience out there in the wilderness. Can you talk us through some of the safari activities that you have available here? What can a guest expect when they come here?
Sure. So, of course, we have the standard 2 game drives a day. So they will do an early morning drive.
Yeah.
And come and have brunch, and then after lunch and a little rest, they will go out on the afternoon drive. The guests are currently out on their drive at the moment on this glorious afternoon.
Lucky them.
Yeah. But we do have a number of other ones that are usually by request but are available to everyone. So you can do a night drive after dinner, just request it with your game drive, your guide, and you'll go for a 1 to 1.5 hour drive. And on that drive you might see some slightly different things, some rare things. Yeah.
All the nocturnals.
All nocturnals, yeah. And then you can also do a walk. We've got 3 kinds of walks here actually. 2 of them are extras. The one is a walk in the Big 5 area. So you call it the dangerous game walk, and we will bring in a specialist guide to walk them with that. And then one of our guys can also take them to an area which hasn't got dangerous game in, and you can just do a more relaxed walk.
Okay.
That is between game drives basically. And then there's a little trail we've got that rambles around our lodge, because our lodge is actually fenced off from the main reserve. Although you can't see the fence for the most part because it's hidden by the bushes.
Fantastic.
But you can take yourself a little ramble, and I think that's actually very important for a lot of guests, because they feel that all they do is sit and eat here, and they actually complain. They're eating too much, they're not getting the exercise, they're going to put on 4 kilograms before they go home. So, while that's a compliment to our chefs, it's not quite what they had in mind. So then they can take a little walk, and it's not very long, but it's quite strenuous, because you walk up this cliff behind us here.
Ooh.
And there you can get a different view from the other side. So that's quite nice for people just to stretch their legs and that kind of stuff. And then we have another very special extra outing, and that is the horse safaris, which is actually run by my partner and cousin Giles. So the guests will be taken after their breakfast by their guide up to his farm, and from there they will set out on a horse trail of roughly 3 hours, I think 2.5 hours, and they go into part of the reserve once again where you do those non-dangerous walks.
Okay.
And so for people who like riding, it's a fantastic experience, and one which they don't normally get an opportunity to do. I think it's a lifetime experience actually.
It's on my bucket list, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I really want to do this walk in camp. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to go up towards the cliffs there. It's so
Or
beautiful.
test your fitness.
Oh, no, we're not talking fitness, because I can relate to the adding on 4 kilograms because I just sit and eat. So to chat a little bit more about the in-depths of Woodbury Lodge, I have got the other owner of Woodbury Lodge with me, Kathy Gush. Welcome, Kathy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tess. Lovely to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, of course, Kathy is Richard's wife and they have built this incredible place together. So it is a privilege to be chatting to you. I want to chat a little bit more about some of the finer details of the lodge with you, Kathy. So we all know that coming on holiday isn't just about the activities that you can do, but it's actually a lot about the experience you have when you eat as well, to get that feel of how
Food is always important.
Yes, to get the feel of how the holiday is actually going in, quite literally. So can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect on the menu, if there's any specialties that you have? What's the feel of the food experience?
Well, first of all, maybe I should just say that, whenever I pop down here, people always think, oh, we're eating so much. We do eat, so there's certainly, it's plentiful, and, it's obviously very, very substantial and sufficient, because I think Richard mentioned earlier that people are like, oh, we're going to go away, to 4 kgs heavier, etc. So I think they really do enjoy the food experience here, and I think it's because it is quite substantial. They start with a brunch after their morning game drive, which is a full English breakfast, as well as the usual sort of cereals, muesli, fruits, etc. So there's a big brunch awaiting you when you come back from your morning drive, and then lunch, is around sort of early afternoon, and that's a light meal, but still pretty delicious and substantial. It might be tuna pie and salads and, mixed veg, etc. Just to keep you going for the afternoon drive. And then the evening dinner is a full 3-course meal, starter, main and dessert. We try to have a kind of mix of fine dining in the sense of well-presented food, but at the same time, good substantial portions. We have lamb shank, some of our, speciality.
Oh, that's one of my favourites.
Venison sometimes, if people have choices as well in terms of their main course. Sometimes we have a braai or barbecue, as some people know it, just to keep it quite traditional as well.
So it's that nice mix of kind of the luxury food, but the comfort of it's really good, it's warming from the inside, and it's more than enough to keep you going.
Absolutely.
I mean, that sounds like the perfect way to spend a holiday. To me, food is one of the most important experiences of being at a place, and I must be honest, I've been very impressed.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
So getting into some of the more core stuff that is happening at Amakhala, Kathy, you work with the Amakhala Conservation Centre as the director of the Amakhala Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about how that community conservation fits in to what's happening at Amakhala and how important that might be for how things play out?
Yeah, Tess, I mean, that is really where my heart lies. It's my people development is my passion. And it's really important that we have this concept of community and conservation, because more and more we're looking at this idea of coexistence, because we can't just have pristine biodiverse areas. People are part of that whole picture. And we have to be doing development alongside each other, because we won't have the conservation and the protection of the wildlife and the biodiverse areas if we don't take people along with us.
Okay, so when that comes into Woodbury Lodge itself, I know I've heard you mention this before, but a lot of the staff that are here are actually, they've been here for a long time. They were here long before it was Amakhala, right?
Absolutely. The majority of our staff members are actually from this area. They grew up in the area that they live on our farm, which is a separate farm to the reserve. We're really proud of that we've been able to create major employment opportunities, skills development opportunities for the people who are employed here now, but we also work a lot with the children from the area in terms of schooling, preschooling, environmental education, all those kind of things through the foundation.
That's fantastic. Well, I think starting at a young age is really one of the most important things, but I think as well just engaging with children, getting children excited about what this can do for not just them, but for their entire life, for the people that they know, for the families that they have. I think that's a really important thing that you're doing. So I must be honest, I absolutely love this place and everything that you do here. I think you've done a fantastic job. I'd like to know from you what you feel about Woodbury Lodge and Amakhala. How does this place differentiate itself from the myriad of other safari destinations around South Africa?
Yes, thanks, Tessa. I think it starts on your arrival here. So if you can picture a guest driving up our driveway in their vehicle, their hired vehicle, and stopping at the top and getting out, and the first thing they will see basically is this krantz behind, this cliff, which sort of frames the lodge and the bush and all that kind of stuff. It's like a backdrop to a scene, and then as they are met by our friendly and smiling staff, they will be led up with a welcome drink onto the deck, and then they'll turn around and they'll be faced with this 180-degree panoramic view. So I think that really sets the scene for what is special and possibly different about Woodbury Lodge. And then, of course, when they go on their game drives, they will see that the landscape here is just wonderful, in the sense that there are open areas, and there are areas with bush, riverine bush, as well as on the hillsides. So no matter what the time of the year, you're going to be able to see wildlife out in the open, because there's no tall grass and things like that that are going to be obstructing it, depending on whether there's been a lot of rain, all that kind of stuff. So you're always going to have these exciting sightings, and you're going to be coming around the corner and another little area will open up and there will be something else, you know. Yeah. So I think that's what makes it special, and Woodbury has this sighting where we have this basin in front of us. So you kind of start straight away with that atmosphere. You're not having to drive to get anywhere to get there.
Yeah.
The rest, of course, is obviously common to the rest of Amakhala. You know, so it's the thing that makes Amakhala special. Is this changing panorama? You've got the river running through it, although there's not much water in it at the moment.
Hopefully
soon.
soon.
Yeah. And then you've got the hills and and then you climb up onto the top of the escarpment and you look down, and then you're on the plains, you know. So it's this constant changing landscape and different animals in different places. I think it's very special. And of course we have a temperate climate here. So I know you've experienced some quite chilly mornings and
Yes.
evenings, but and hot in the middle of the day. But generally speaking, the weather is fairly moderate here. No matter what time, you can visit us any time of the year, and you will have a good time and good viewing, you know.
100%. This place is absolutely gorgeous. But I think as well, you touched on it really nicely, talking about the landscapes and the different parts that you can visit. It's like you can't get bored.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, it's something different, and it's something exciting, and it's something fantastic. And I think the lodge itself, where you're situated, this is the most unique looking destination. That boutique style on a mountain face, looking out over a view with all of this vegetation. It's different. You don't have to go anywhere to be on safari. You've got the luxury, you've got the comfort, you've got the family feel, and you're already in the bush on safari. You're part of nature, but at the same time you're experiencing it in luxury.
I couldn't put it better myself, Tess.
I think you've done a fantastic job. So certainly a very, very special destination to be, and I think you've done a great job.
Thanks.
It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to Richard and Kathy Gush today, sharing so much love for this beautiful place that they have created. If you'd like to find out more about Woodbury Lodge, head over to the website, and I'm looking forward to seeing you exploring the hills of Amakhala one day soon. But for Destination Safari, it's goodbye for now.